Keith and Daniela, that 7-year-old victim who police say is the shooter's biological son continues fighting for his life in the hospital tonight as his grandmother is sharing a statement for the first time calling this a completely preventable horror. And tonight we have new reporting. Divorce records are revealing details about that shooter's documented mental health history, as police have called it, as well as a possible connection to this megachurch. Tonight, local, state, and federal investigators combing through evidence collected from the home of 36-year-old Genesee Moreno, who Houston police say opened fire in Joel Osteen's church Sunday.
Shooting at Lakewood, 2 people down, we need an ambulance.
Police say Moreno entered the megachurch wearing a trench coat with her son when she began firing an AR-15 bearing a Palestine sticker. Gunshots interrupted the start of a Spanish-language service before an off-duty HPD officer and TABC agent returned fire.
She eventually falls to the ground. The 7-year-old child, it falls to the ground as well.
Authorities haven't determined whose gunfire struck the child in the head, but his grandmother, writing on Facebook, no one may ever blame a police officer who carries out his or her rightful duty to save lives, even if they are found responsible for shooting my grandson. The shooter has been arrested at least 5 times, records show, in October 2022, pleading guilty to unlawful carrying of a weapon. Investigators say...
Let me get this straight. She unlawfully carried a weapon, got arrested, and she still managed to be able to buy a gun? I'm like, how? Unless maybe when you change your name, you get a new identity and you go there like, hey man, I'm a different person now. The other 4 pictures that you took of me like very feminine, I'm not that person anymore.
Moreno used many aliases, including some male names like Jeffrey, and that they've found anti-Semitic writings.
We do believe that there was a familial dispute that has taken place between her ex-husband and her ex-husband's family, and some of those individuals are Jewish.
Divorce records obtained by KPRC show her ex-husband in 2021 told a judge Moreno would physically attack him and on multiple occasions chased him out of the house with knives. One time, with their child in the car, she pointed a gun on him and that she told him all the time that she just tricked him to get her citizenship. Records reveal the child's paternal grandmother asked a Montgomery County court to appoint her temporary managing conservator, claiming Moreno had schizophrenia and didn't always take her prescribed medication.
She does have a mental health history that is documented through us and through interviews with family members.
While police haven't revealed a motive, the grandmother wrote in custody battle documents the church shooter and her mother knowingly and intentionally harmed the child by lying to authorities for reasons hard to understand even by the pastoral staff of Joel Osteen's church, where Moreno's mother attended.
This is so weird that these women knowingly and intentionally harmed both the kid and the father. And nobody noticed anything. I'm like, how come?
Well, they tell us she had recently wrapped a contentious divorce and custody battle, that her former mother-in-law is actually a rabbi, which they believe may have motivated some of the anti-Semitism she's accused of. Still, they don't believe that's what prompted the shooting. Instead, they're blaming this all on mental illness.
A feeling that
Connie Eicher believes it could have all been prevented.
it's a tragedy that should have never been able to happen.
Eicher is friends with Moreno's ex-husband's family. The couple and their son even stayed at her Bel Air home briefly in 2019, months before filing for divorce.
My thoughts were that she was very mentally disturbed.
Divorce documents obtained by ABC 13 indicate Moreno had a history of mental illness and show both she and her ex-husband accused one another of abuse.
The bottom line is anybody who has psychiatric problems, who threatens other people, shouldn't be allowed to carry things like that out.
Law enforcement tell ABC 13 one of Moreno's guns had Palestine written on it and that they found anti-Semitic writings. Eicher says Moreno's former mother-in-law is a rabbi.
Is that where some of the anti-Semitism comes from, you think?
Yeah.
In a Facebook post, Moreno's ex-mother-in-law wrote, "This has nothing to do with Judaism or Islam," instead blaming the attack on mental illness.
All I would have to say is this. The fact that I have Free Palestine doesn't surprise me. And also, the fact that she went to shoot a church where the mother was going at, doesn't make me think a lot about it. Might be a hate crime. But the fact that she's a trans man, I don't think most of them are very fond of Christianity anyway.
Divorce documents show both she and Eicher worked to intervene in the couple's custody battle, which her son, a registered sex offender, first won in Harris County before losing to Moreno in Montgomery County.
The system failed her, yeah. And yeah, the system failed the little boy too.
Moreno's former mother-in-law wrote on Facebook that even if it's determined law enforcement shot her grandson, she does not believe they should be to blame, that it is their responsibility to save lives. Instead, she wrote that, quote, fault lies in Child Protective Services of Montgomery County and Harris County that refused to remove custody from a woman with known mental illness that was not being treated, and with the state of Texas for not having strong red flag laws.
And guess what? I found more information.
Saying that she would carry a loaded handgun in her diaper bag, that she would refer to her son as the boy or the child rather than calling him by name, and even that she kept him on a feeding tube long after that feeding tube was supposed to be taken out. So we're looking at some pretty gruesome accusations. Moments from inside Lakewood Church Sunday when police say Genesee Moreno opened fire with her 7-year-old son at her side. Two officers shot back, killing Moreno, and her son was shot in the head. Records show Moreno's been arrested at least 6 times since 2005 for charges ranging from assault and evading to unlawful carrying a weapon. In 2022, she filed this protective order against her husband, Enrique Carranza. The document showing Carranza as a registered sex offender. Weeks later, Carranza, also the father of the 7-year-old, filed for divorce. This affidavit claiming that Moreno stored a loaded handgun in their child's diaper bag and that she kept him in diapers instead of potty training and kept him on a feeding tube for years when it was supposed to be in place for just weeks. The document claiming that the neglect constitutes Munchausen by proxy, intentionally making the child dependent and impaired. We spoke to a former teacher of the child who didn't want to be identified.
Anybody, he would always run around hitting kids, like picking on him, and he would laugh about it. I don't know if he did that because she would do that. You know, when you live around it, you pick up on it.
All I have to say is, where's Child Protective Services? It's like, we have the father, he's a sex offender, that's a bad choice. We better keep it with the mother. And it's the least worst option that we can do. Well, you could leave the kid with the grandma. Tell the father to keep away from the kid. If that's what you're worried about, put the ankle on him to be sure he never goes to that house with the kid. I don't know. No. Leave the kid with the mother. As if the mother is doing a great job always.
Investigated 4 times by Child Protective Services, something CPS says they're not lawfully able to comment on.
It's hard to believe that she still had him.
Despite the claims, the court gave primary custody to Moreno in May of 2022. In October of 2023, the teacher says the boy was pulled out of school.
Everyone at the school is praying for him.
It is on Instagram. The Moreno not only posted selfies, but also a picture of a weapon in 2020, adding in the captions, "How does one clean an AR-15? That's the same year her ex-husband filed a disturbing affidavit as part of their divorce. In the 4-page document, Enrique Carranza says, "As soon as we were married, my wife became abusive. Jeffrey is a diagnosed schizophrenic, so daily it was a new battle or a fight in her realm." Carranza refers to their son, who he says was born premature with drugs in his system, remarking, "I am currently in fear that my wife will harm my son because she knows that all I wanted my whole life was to be a father, and I will not allow hate to be taught to my son."
Ladies and gentlemen, I think Child Protective Services is to blame if the hospital, the school, and the neighbors all have almost the same story that, hey, we see some aggressive stuff and we are surprised that Child Protective Services has not taken the child anyway. Maybe you missed something out. Maybe you weren't that logical, but you were more like an activist. Oh my god, immigrant, illegal in US, need to marry so she can stay in America and now she can act out. But even if she has mental health issues, maybe it was caused by something in Salvador where there's a lot of misogyny. I don't know. It would not surprise me. But hey, let me know what you think if you think the opposite. And about the gun situation, I have no freaking idea. I don't know how you can buy a gun legally with all those bad stuff in your name. I don't know. It shouldn't be possible. But hey, if you can change your name, can you change more on your ID, your identity? Does the fact that you change your name means that people can search you in the system and they don't find your previous crime? I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't live in America. You tell me. Educate me. But to be sure that the statistic always reflect the agenda, it's kind of weird that you identify the person as Jeffrey, female, white, non-Hispanic. But it's sad because right now a child born prematurely because mama was taking drugs, right? We don't know if she's forced or not, so let's think nice about that too. Has a baby, and now she takes care of the baby in such a nice way that the baby was still eating through a feeding tube and wearing diapers. Because mommy loved the baby so much. I don't know, man. I feel so bad for the baby. It might not even surprise me that he jumped in front of mom. Let me protect you. I don't know, man. Reward bullet to the head. Lagi neck, man. It makes no sense. But I mainly blame Child Protective Services because they definitely had many chances because they already said.
Investigated 4 times by Child Protective Services.
And they found nothing wrong.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Buta fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam turloketa verdeta welcome.